Yeah, okay, so we're just back in Daggerfall. I had to re-record this video mainly because I had a few problems with the sound. So you won't get to hear all the squawking and all the funny impish sounds as you walk along. But, you know, that's not too bad a deal, I think. Right, down here is a thief. There's always a thief here, the first NPC you'll ever fight. He dies quite quickly. I mean, that ebony dagger it's pretty strong that I'm using. I can pick up an iron broadsword here, but I'm going to stick with my ebony dagger. It does a lot more damage, even though I've got a better chance to hit. Anyway, yeah, all these guys, you can pick up all their weaponry. We can't wear any of the leather stuff or the chain stuff, and that's basically +1 or +2 armor stuff we can't wear. +1 being leather, +2 being chain. But that's not too bad, I think. I always, you know, leather and chain you're going to get in the first few levels. Quite swiftly you'll be able to get onto iron to plate levels, and unless you're quite unlucky, you will be able to equip up and make and give yourself quite a decent amount of armor even by the time you leave Privateer's Hold. Of course, what you could do is also on the custom build you could actually say, right, I want to have a full suit of armor as a gift from the Emperor, and that will mean that you never really have to wear any chain or leather, and so you can just add those to your special disadvantages. Up here we have a bat. Now these bats are actually quite tough, because not because they've got a lot of hit points, but they're sometimes in an awkward position. I've rearranged all my controls to be so I can actually easily aim and move around. You might like to do the same if you ever play through Daggerfall. Right, the best thing to do here is that I know what's coming up next is going to be a pretty hardcore character. We're just going to put a space onto a jump button because there is going to be somewhere to jump over here. So open this door and there is an NPC. None of them are friendly, of course. He's normally an archer, so we'll jump over this table and we'll start smashing him away. He's hitting me back. He's quite fast actually. It's a she. She's got either that or it's a he with gynecomastia. He's got quite big breasts. But yeah, that archer just died. He almost killed me as well. And what we've got next is we need a place to rest, but I'll just show you this part of it because this is a bad place to rest. In this corridor, if you rest here, you start getting random enemies appearing. So we'll just rest for 10, 12. There's some enemies nearby. Now what? There's an enemy nearby? Look, what? Where? What? Didn't we explore everything behind us? Ah! Look, suddenly there's another archer appearing here. No, it's not an archer, it's a rogue, another NPC. But yeah, if we rest in this corridor, we'll try resting again. There's an enemy nearby. What could it be? You know, it's a bear. A massive bear has appeared behind us, and you know, if you follow this video, we had explored everywhere behind us. No, there wasn't any secret passages. This bear just miraculously appears. If you rest in this corridor, you get a nice spawn of enemies. So let's just try and get rid of that bear now. Come on, bear. No, I think I'm standing on top of him. That's why I can't hit him. I was standing on top of him and standing on his head, and he's biting my ankles. Okay. Bears don't have any treasure. They don't even have any bear fur for you to pick up or pelts or anything like that. Let's see what this archer has got though. He's got a steel warhammer. That's pretty good if you're a blunt weapon fan. And leather boots. So we'll just take all this stuff. This is basically part of the tutorial which tells you to get and move on. You don't get random enemies appearing elsewhere in Privateer's Hold. It's just this corridor saying that okay, you can't just faff around. You've got to actually get a move on. Otherwise we're gonna send loads of random enemies after you. As soon as you enter this room, of course, because you can't rest here because there are lots of mice and rats rather just squeaking around. But once you're past this corridor, you can actually rest. It's no problem. There are a few enemies. If you want to rest though, you need to clear out a bat and you need to clear out 2 rats that are very close by. So let's check out one of these rooms first of all. Let's check out this room. Well, there's a couple of rats squeaking away in here. We'll just stab them very quickly. Rats of course carry diseases, but even though I've got a critical weakness to diseases, the diseases are really difficult to get. And this room is just a storeroom. There's no treasure in here, and there is an additional place that you can go. You can't rest here. You can't rest here. I think there's enemies through this doorway. If you open this doorway and you go through, there's actually a rogue or NPC up there plus a grizzly bear if you want to fight them, and they basically are close enough to disturb you so you can't go to sleep here. Through this door, this is where you want to go. You just take a little step through here, and this place is the main throne room. As you can see, it's absolutely massive for Privateer's Hold. You know, it's basically a Privateer's Hold a pirate's castle, but that is quite a nice place for a pirate's castle. Anyway, we'll clear those rats so we can have a bit of a sleep. We're sleeping in this room and we will get no more random monsters appearing behind us. We'll rest for 13 hours. We don't need to eat, we don't need to drink, it doesn't matter. So we improve our skills. The skills only improve if you rest for 6 hours or you loiter for 3 hours and then loiter for another 3. Now that is a stairwell going all the way up. We're gonna change our weapon over here because I'm just going to change over to the steel warhammer. It's a 2-handed weapon, does a lot more damage, but of course I'm not skilled in it, so we'll see how that performs. And the reason is that certain creatures take more damage from blunt weapons than they do sharp weapons, and this might be quite useful for what comes up next. Well, there's a bat here. Let's just test it out on him, how good we are at hitting. Oh, it's swinging away here. This seems like a bit of a plastic hammer that we're waving. It doesn't really... Well, we killed him in the end, but that wasn't particularly effective. You know, I wasn't at this stage, wasn't that happy with my selection, and I know that we're going to come up to more tough enemies next. So do we really want the steel warhammer? I'm not too happy with it. We're probably better off at this stage using our something that we're going to hit with, because we did miss round about with 90% of our strikes, and even if we do more damage with a steel warhammer, we're still better off hitting them with something that we can actually use. So let's go to our ebony dagger. We'll equip that. That does a fair amount of damage anyway, and even if it does less, and we're talking about up here is a, you can hear if you're playing this game, you can hear it roar. Skeletons roar for some reason in this game. But each hit on a skeleton, it does half damage if you're not using a blunt weapon. A blunt weapon I think does double damage, so they do significantly more, but ebony does damage in itself and it's pretty potent. Let's just see what he's got on him. He has got himself some gold and a silver broadsword, 1 to 12 damage. Now that's slightly less damage than my ebony dagger, but I'm more skilled in it, I'm more likely to hit. And you'll notice that we've also run out of space or carrying capacity, so we just have to empty a few things. I think we'll get rid of this iron broadsword. Let's just swap an iron broadsword for a silver broadsword. I think that's always a good deal. I don't think we really need the ebony dagger, but we'll sell the ebony dagger off. It does a lot of damage, but with the silver broadsword that we've got better chance with, it's always going to be a better piece of equipment. Yep, it's 5 kilos, so it just weighs just as much. But a lot of people doing Privateer's Hold, doing Privateer's walkthroughs now would decide to explore the rest of the castle. Like I said, we didn't go through that rat storeroom, and we didn't explore the grizzly bear and the thief up there, and there's also a little side passage off the side here, but we don't really want to go off, and there's a couple of rooms there and a couple of rooms on the other side. But over here, this is the quickest way out of Privateer's Hold. You see, over here is another area of the dungeon to explore. We just jump up onto the throne, and there is a lever. And we pull that lever, and it acts as a elevator, and it takes us all the way to the top. And we don't have to go through the rest of the dungeon, so it saves us a lot of time. There are lots of other creatures that you can end up fighting, and you can pick up minor treasure off them. Again, another rat. Stab him. You can pick up minor treasure, like you can pick up leather chain gauntlets, and you can nothing that we can use, and steel weapons as well. But they're all going to weigh us down, and we don't have any more carrying capacity. So I always think at this point, if you can't carry any extra treasure, what's the point? The only point of kind of fighting on is exploring, and you're going to find a lot more dungeons later on, or getting experience. And it's easy to get experience in this game. You don't need to go through the tutorial dungeon. It's a lot of hassle to do it. In a way, that tutorial dungeon was useful because it actually tells you that you can use levers. Levers are part of this game. It's not just a pure dungeon crawl. There are some puzzles, although it's an open world game, so you can actually get around the puzzles as well. In here, as I remember, there is a bat, an imp, and a rat as well. So let's just try and thrash this bat. I hit I'm hitting him a few times, but he's not liking it. He doesn't seem to care. He's backing up a bit. So what I'm forced to do is back off myself. Otherwise, I don't want to embarrassingly get killed in this dungeon. I'm trying to show off and say, yeah, this is how you do Privateer's Hold dungeon. But I don't want to die. We can't rest here either. Yeah. So what I was saying before, other things that you have missed at the bottom of this kind of dungeon area, if you didn't take the elevator up, is there's a little doorway that leads you to an area which has got a rat in it, a couple of more NPCs that you can slaughter. If you carry on this corridor upwards, you can find yourself a skeleton, a couple of NPCs as well, and they've got some more treasure. They've got, again, probably some shields and some useful little things like that. Well, let's just figure out how to cast our spells. Now, casting spells is quite novel in this game, because you need to prepare the spell, and then you need to click using the cursor where you want the spell to go. And for something like shock, you press the button to fire a spell, but you actually need something in front of you to fire it at. Everything else, slowfall, chameleon, these kind of casting yourself spells, you can just click and you cast them automatically. Heal spells the same, you cast them automatically. But we don't have any heal spells, so what we're going to do, we're going to be sneaky this time. We'll run up to where these people are. We can't carry any more treasure, so there's no point in killing. And the way is clear. And we'll just dash past and go through the skull and crossbones. And we're outside. We've completed! Hooray! We've completed the Privateer's Hold dungeon. That seemed, I thought that was a castle, but in fact it's just this little hovel in the ground. This is pretty much what all dungeons look like in Daggerfall. They didn't really do too much to show them off. There are a couple of castles. But anyway, we are in the region of Daggerfall. I guess this is a county or a state inside the country of High Rock. And Daggerfall is down here. We're up, if you click on the I'm at, we're all the way up here. And we're very close to Gothway Garden and Moorheart Orchard. Gothway Garden is a little city. It's right next to us on the map. So usually people fast travel. They fast travel to go places. So usually the first place to go is that you want to go and finish the Emperor's quest, and you want to go and find out what happened to the letter that went to the Queen of Daggerfall. So natural thing is to go to Daggerfall. But I just want to show off what outside the dungeons look like. Now, we're at Privateer's Hold. Gothway Garden is just south of us, so we should be able to walk there, right? And if you considering things like Skyrim and Oblivion, you can walk to the next town from the dungeon quite quickly. If you walk from, let's say, Riverwood, and let's rest here, there's some enemies here. If you walk from Riverwood to Bleak Falls Barrow, that doesn't take you too long. It takes about around about 5 minutes. So let's walk this way. It's just one small square, remember, to walk to the nearest town. So let's start walking. This is all kind of randomly generated, these trees and all the ground, and at the moment it's snowing, so let's check how to run. We can run by clicking down the left shift button, so that will speed things up. Yeah, so we can just basically run or sprint the rest of the way. But as you can see, the ground is quite flat. There are a few contours to the land occasionally just to make things interesting. There are these kind of mushroom trees and the occasional rock. But these are kind of all randomly generated. If you look around, everything's randomly generated. The landscape is a lot duller, and you can rapidly get lost in these places if you don't use the fast travel. But I'm just going to see the fast travel. So where are we? We've been running for about a minute, and there's Privateer's Hold, and we're still not too distant away from the place, and we'll just carry on running this place. Occasionally when you fast travel, one problem is that you get teleported or you get fast travelled close to the dungeon, but you're close to the dungeon in the dark, and you look around and you can't find the dungeon. The dungeon is just a castle or whatever, and in fact it's just a little hole in the ground like you saw in Privateer's Hold, and you look around and you think, where is it? But yeah, it's difficult. It's very easy to get lost in these places, and all these kind of trees and things, they're sprites of course, so they look exactly the same wherever around you are, so you can't actually use them to coordinate yourself. So yeah, all quite tricky, and I can't imagine playing this game without fast travelling. I mean, I've tried to play Skyrim without fast travelling, but at least that's vaguely interesting. This game, there's no possible way that you can play it without fast travelling, because if you want to travel to the other side of the country, or even the other side of the state, that will take you hours to do. Supposedly the size of the entire game is roughly equivalent to Great Britain. So this entire map is the size of Great Britain, and that's just the Isle Bay region, so it doesn't cover everything else. It's just enormous. I don't know. Bethesda had a good idea of the scope of the game. And here we are. We're in Gothway Garden. Here we are. One nice thing about the atmosphere here is that it's so bleak and so depressing outside cities that you kind of feel that when you actually finally get to a city, it feels welcome. Whereas in Skyrim and Oblivion, not so much, because everywhere looks quite cool and everywhere looks stunning and beautiful. In Daggerfall, everywhere looks bleak until you get to a city and you're like, oh, thank God, lights up ahead, this must be a friendly place. But here we are in Gothway Garden. This is the place where we need to go. There's everything that we need here. There's shops to sell our things, there's inns for us to stay and rest, and there's also a fighters guild here, and there's also a mages guild here, so lots of stuff for us to do. We'll go into the inn and we can get a room. Just to get a room is the only place you can rest, otherwise you'll be arrested for vagrancy. So we shall stop there and we shall rest up, and I'll see you for the next part of Daggerfall.